Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click the bell.
Yo, be a father. If not, why bother, son? A boy can make them, but a man can raise one. Be a father to your child. Be a father to your child.
Do it. Ready?
Rolling.
What's good? It's another episode of Fatherhoods.
Yes,
Yes.
indeed.
Which episode? Wow.
I don't know, man.
Let's
know.
let's
I
not
lose
even
track.
bother. We're gonna,
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
No.
It's just another. It's another episode, basically.
Just think of losing track of how many diapers we go through. I'm
right.
going through the same thing.
Ooh, actually, you talk about something that today happened to me that I have to confess because it was a bonehead ass move, and it has to do with diapers. But in this glorious episode, I will share. Fuck it, I'll do it now. So we out and about at a mall, and before we head out, I changed my daughter, and in her diaper drawer, I noticed a diaper that I don't recall seeing before. So I grab it. I'm like, cool. All right, it's a pull up, and we're in the process of trying to get her to use the potty or what have you. So I'm like, this should hold it. It'd be fine. So I put it on, and
You put it on?
I put it on. I put it on
Okay.
her. And
Not on himself.
No.
I put it on to try it out first, and then I put it on.
Been working for you, bro. Your waist shrunk that much?
So now I put it on her, and then we leave, whatever. She falls asleep in the car. Then when we arrive, her pants are wet,
Ah, man.
and I'm like, shit. And my wife's looking around like confused, like, why is this happening? And I look at her, and I'm like, yo, so those pull-ups with the little sunshine on them? Like, what was that about? Because those look new. And she's like,
The bathing suit?
well, she's like, those are for the pool. And I was
Yeah,
like,
because I just went to the pool with my daughter, so that's what.
hey. I would have assumed they hold more water. I don't know, but I guess it's not. It doesn't work outside of water. So there we were. So luckily we were close enough. We found a store. We bought her new gear and cleaned up what we could, and then kept it
Good
moving.
going, Manny.
Yeah, I fucked up. But now I learned the lesson. Now I know what the hell those things are, and I'm never touching them again. 'Cause the cold up here is not. We're not going to a pool anytime soon.
Damn.
Hey, Manny,
man.
since you have multiple children,
Word.
do you have any? I mean, do you go through times where there's like? I mean, it sounds horrible, but like, do you have favorites, or are there times where it's like you want to hang out with one over the other, or how does that work?
I don't think he could even tell us that, or he'd have to kill us.
I'm gonna try not to dodge the question because I get mad at parents that do. So I'm gonna do my best to be as honest as possible. So in the context of hanging out with them, right? It really depends on the mood. So for example, my youngest, her battery doesn't ever turn off at this stage of her life, right? And so she wears my ass out more quickly than the other two. So I actually force myself as often as I can to be around her because of that challenge, and it drives me nuts. So I'd say she's my least preferred to be around for a long stretch of time right now because of that.
Got it.
My son, he's in a very inquisitive stage and knows how to formulate and ask really good questions, but he does so at a clip that drives me insane as well. But I try not to ignore that because I want to nurture that and have that be kind of the way he normally is. So that's also another challenge, but I can manage that a little more effectively. So sometimes I kind of, if it's too much for me at that moment in time, I'll redirect that into something else. Sometimes we'll play a video game together, or it's like, oh, it's time for you to read your book for the day. Like, let's go do that. So I try to con him a little bit. And my oldest, I think shortly, she and I are going to have more difficulty hanging out. Because
Really?
she's approaching like I'm noticing a lot of really quick changes with her, and I just think it's the stage
The age,
that she's in. Yeah. So I'm trying to rationalize that and not hold it against her because I know that's just a normal process. But people talk about it all the time. Like I was actually with an old coworker talking to him the other day, and he was like, because his daughter is 13, and he's like, "Yo, if I had a chance to reincarnate at some point in time, I will beg and plead to not come back as a 13-year-old girl because the challenges that they face are like nothing he's ever seen." And so I feel like that relationship is going to be a tough one with my oldest.
Is it the same with her mom too? She just doesn't want. She just wants to be. She's looking for that independence, basically, right?
I think so. Yeah.
She might have more in common with the mom, though.
Yeah.
I mean, so surprisingly, like I feel like they're going to get into it hot and heavy way more than I am.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't know, but you would think that maybe in the beginning the go-to is the mom, but then as she learns the things she needs to get out of the mother, then the experience or whatever, then the more of the independence, and then I could see them bumping heads, and then since she was a little distant from you, she'll come back around like you guys are like cool like friends, and mom is the bad guy at that time.
That sounds right, but I'm slick. I'm not gonna take the bait. Right. When she starts acting a fool, I'm gonna say what I need to say, nice and calm. Be like, yo, check yourself, cause you wilding right now, and then I'm gonna back away slowly. So that's gonna be my strategy. Hopefully, it can stick. But yeah,
that's a tough one.
That's what I have to look forward to.
Yeah. Okay, you lucky as hell, man. You only got a boy, a single child, and he's a boy.
Yes, sir.
I mean, there's different challenges there, but I think they're a lot easier to deal with from what I've heard from people.
Yeah, I mean, from what I can gather, and I think it really just boils down to the kid, like what their personality is. But I guess the general gist is people say that the little girls are easier to deal with when they're younger, and then a handful when they're older, and then the boys are tough to deal with when they're younger, just because of the energy level, and then they're a little bit more balanced out in teenage years, but that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like my goddaughters, Paul's kids, they seem pretty even keel. Maybe the younger one of the first three is the more wilder one, but even then, like pretty even keel. I didn't see that spike in teenage years where they did something crazy.
Because Paul has four girls.
He has 4 girls and 1 son, and one son and a stepson. So he has 6 kids total.
We need Drink Champ Sports on here to pick his brain.
I should have told him today.
Yo, text him now. Tell him to jump on.
We'll have him on soon.
Get some weird thought action.
He immediately, when he found out we were doing it, he's like, come on, I'm the expert here.
Oh man. But so, I would pay money probably to hear him talk about his kids, because in general the dude's wild.
They all in the same house?
No. The 3 first are in New York with the mother.
Okay.
And then his other 2 are from his girl now, and they're here in Miami. Got it. And let me tell you, all of them are great kids. Like I definitely thought my goddaughters were gonna have a tough time adjusting to their parents being broken up and moving around, and we're all kind of like upset with the mother when she moved. She moved a couple times too. And then when Paul had more kids, I'm like, oh man, how are the kids gonna interact, man? They all love each other, and they're very close, and they're all like involved. Like all the kids across the spectrum, all involved in after school sports, and his youngest now are like, they do basketball, football. Like the daughter, crazy basketball player. Like it's dope. It's dope. And I'm glad that ended up working out. And obviously I give a lot of credit to Paul, but definitely the mothers have done a really good job themselves.
Yeah, we definitely got to do that with Drink Champ Sports.
Yes.
Hey Manny, what was the outcome of the phone conversation with your oldest? Is that still ongoing, or did you guys make a decision on that one?
Yo, my guy,
Oh, about using the phone?
Or
it's
getting
having
the
her own
phone,
phone,
right?
getting
Right.
getting her own phone. Yeah, it's heating up. It's heating up.
Oh, so it's still she didn't go for the sell the equipment and trade it in for a phone.
Nah, and what's killing me is, and I was actually, I kind of had like the final conversation with my wife about it yesterday. I was like, yo, look, I'm really annoyed by all this shit, and I shouldn't be. Like, this is not that big a situation for me to feel like this. So I was like, look, you go ahead and do what you think is best, but hear me out. Here's my rationale one more time. Here's what I think this is going to lead to, so keep that in mind. And I just don't see the need for another duplicative device, of which she already has two others that do basically the same thing. So it's hot right now, and I'm out. Like, I'm not involved. If she wants to buy another phone, yo, whatever. I told her, yo, no tech support from daddy. If you need an app approved to have it on your phone, look the other way, because I'm not doing nothing with it. If it breaks, messes up, don't talk to me about nothing. Go talk to your mom, and good luck. So that's where we're at.
Yo, let me ask you this real quick, Manny. Is it and we might have talked about this a little bit before, but is it true what they say that if you have one, the cost of one is the same as the cost of multiples?
So when you hear people talk about kids,
Because it doesn't seem that would be true.
I feel I
know where this is coming from, E.
what? That my girl wants another kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I do feel like it is. Like, there is no real noticeable added cost.
There is no noticeable. It has to be at some point. I could understand maybe
In my
at the young ages.
So far, I haven't noticed. Now, when you start getting actually,
Like when you start to get to iPhones, Xboxes, and all the fucking Legos in the world you want, those are gonna start adding up. Plus food for everybody.
hand-me-downs solves
And
a
then
lot
whatever
of
your
that.
school situation is.
Right.
So hand-me-down solves a lot of the gadget stuff. That I'm not too concerned with. Where I am starting to see it build is extracurricular activities. So I've got my daughter, excuse me, I've got my daughter in a CYO basketball league and an AAU basketball team, which are not free. So there's one kid, two expenses that practically run concurrently. And then I've got my son now in Taekwondo.
Yeah, get it right, brother.
He's in Taekwondo, and that's a healthy clip. And
Yeah.
and they start young there. So my daughter's probably going to be the next one up. So when you tally all that, shit is
And
expensive.
insurance for the whole family, does that add up?
Health insurance through a corporate employer, it didn't add up a ton. Now that I'm on my own, I'm still waiting for my corporate insurance to lapse. And now I'm starting to educate myself on what that looks like. I believe it's going to be significantly more because I decided to throw more sperm out there and have some kids.
What a way to say that.
I mean, sorry,
Just threw it
sorry,
out of the way.
sorry, sponsors.
Are you E?
Sure.
Are you? What's your thoughts on having a second? Are you? Is it too early in your game right now to even think about it, or is your lady want to have kind of back to back to?
I mean,
Or is it just a conversation at this point?
sooner than later, not necessarily now, but within like maybe a year or two. And I've even thrown it out, adopting as an option. But I know that's a little crazy too, just dealing with that whole process, and it's expensive also. But I don't know, man.
Do you want a big family? Is that something you always wanted, or what?
I'm like, I go either like on either side of it, depending on my mood. Like sometimes I think about me as an only child and how lonely at times it was. But then again, my parents were going through a lot of issues. So that could have been it, and I wished, like I always say to myself, like it's when I look at my friends with siblings, I feel that there's a sense of confidence that comes out of knowing that no matter what, even if you don't talk to your sibling, there's a blood relative out there that would probably get your back, worst comes to worst.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel there's a confidence and there's a safety net or feeling that comes out of that helps you in life. This is me making that up because I never had that. You know, so when it's just you just feel kind of lonely. But then the flip of it too is I feel that, you know, if it's one child, you can devote a lot of attention to that child. You could help, you know, develop that child's, you know, whatever creativity. And then they're creative because they're lonely. You know, I feel like part of my creativity comes from just having to think things and imaginary whatever and play, you know, toys by myself and had to be both parties fighting each other or whatever the hell, you know?
Is that where the little voices that you make come from?
Oh, yeah.
You're like, hey, what's up? Oh, don't hurt me.
I don't fucking talk to myself like maybe in my mind, but so I don't know, man. There's pros and cons to both of them, I think, and I think, but I do think family and having a, you know, it's not a bad thing. It's just I don't know what toll it'll take on. You know, I think about all kinds of things financially and the stress of it. I don't know. It's just all over the place.
The financial thing, and this is what my tax guy used to tell me. Like, you think about the tax hit when it comes to, you know, the taxes on the income you earn. And he's like, yo, the best way to combat that is stronger offense, meaning earn more. And that's kind of the mentality I have. I know. I'm just saying, but like that's the same kind of thing I think about when I think about more kids. Like I'm like I told you, I would be happy with a fourth kid. My wife's like, there's no way in hell that's happening. How do we pay for it? Back to the same question you asked. Like I don't necessarily think of it as an exponential cost, relatively speaking.
Well, look, I think that once you're down the road of where you're at, where you have 2, 3, a fourth one, to me, at that point, you might as well have 10.
Right.
That, man.
Right.
You know, even the financial part. Like, I look at Paul and I'm like, you know, Paul's had some financial difficulties throughout his life. You know, he's been up and he's been down, and he's still been able to maintain. You know, obviously he's had good partners that have been a part of that, and he's had, you know, 5, 6 kids. So, and they're all healthy. They've all done everything they needed to do. So obviously, I know it's not a financial thing, but each of us individually, as the way we look at life, like I'm like, I want to have more than enough for the one child. So right. Now I'm gonna worry. Oh fuck, I gotta have more than enough now for a second child, and more than enough attention for that second child, and energy for that. You know, I'm not a young buck either, right? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Even though I know fucking viejos that are having kids, you know, left and right like it ain't shit. They just tap them with their baston. Pom, pom, move along.
But then also, how involved are they in the raising?
The other kids.
We don't know. Yeah. I mean, no, some of the.
Oh, you mean the parents?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, well, Paul's pretty, like, sometimes I'm telling you, like, there's a lot of things about Paul. You know, we call him Weird Thoughts, and we make a lot of jokes about Paul. But I have a lot of respect for him.
I wasn't talking about Paul. I was just talking about Los Viejos.
But going to Paul, like, I look at his, like, I'm like, yo, dude, how does this guy have energy? Like, he's coaching the teams, you know, for the kids. He's going to all the games. He's going to the recitals. He's going to, you know, and then he's working crazy hours. Then he's coming to Drink Champ. Then he's trying to create Drink Champ Sports. Right. You know, maybe everything's not perfect, but fuck, he's doing a lot of shit, you know?
Yeah.
That shit makes me tired, man. Like, you know, I don't know.
It's tough. So after that conversation, Kay, are you still locked in on one, or maybe you want to try to squeeze out a second?
No, I think I'm pretty good at one about now.
Taylor's been steadfast.
I mean, I'll put it to you like this. I mean, for me, like, after I had my son and then kind of understood, like, oh, like, now I understand, like, what it feels like to kind of have your own tribe and have, like, you know, like your own family. And so, like, before having a kid, I didn't really get that and understand it. You know, I'm an only child as well, and, you know, so I never really understood that, or I'd come from, you know, single parent family and all that. So it's not like, you know, it's your typical kind of big family situation. So So once I have my son, and I've got my wife, and then you like, all right, we're this unit. So then it starts to make a little bit more sense of like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand the appeal and building out the unit and having more and all that kind of stuff. I think maybe had I been younger, going into, I'd probably consider it more, but I don't really think about it all that much, just because I feel pretty blessed and happy with just having a healthy kid, and it's almost like I almost feel superstitious in the like,
numbers game of it.
Yeah, or I just don't want to press my luck, and also
that's what I'm saying, the numbers.
Also being a little older, having kids, we had to go through the whole genetic testing and all that kind of stuff, and that was like that's stressful, man. Like so. Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty content. I mean, whatever. If the universe decides it's time for another one, then that's what it is. But I'm good.
All right, Dalai Lama.
Now, if you ask my wife, she, I'm sure she, she, I know that she would
give it another
like
shot.
To have another. Yeah.
Oh, she would. Damn, that's pretty crazy, being that she's the one that has to carry.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm kind of overstating it. I know that in her head that I think a second one, or at least in the past when we've talked, that she's always liked that idea. But I also think that at least given our age and all that kind of stuff, that, and also just kind of sharing in that, like, hey, we have a great kid right now, and we're let's keep it moving type. So, but I could be totally wrong, and just thinking, she's totally in line with what I'm thinking.
Going to the numbers thing, it's funny because we had dinner with a couple the other day, couple couples, and one of them was talking about how, like, one of the kids, like, they have two kids, and one's great, amazing kid, and then the other one's like, oh, that fucking kid is a demon spawn.
That's also another scary thought. It's like, you have this kid that's just a fucking nightmare.
So you're thinking, we're gonna have this happy family with two siblings. The other one's fucking, meanwhile, got two horns and fucking, it's like, Satan, Satan, Satan.
Hey, it happens to a lot of people. You have. You're not guaranteed anything.
Yeah, nah.
Lucky for me, they've all my kids have shown a consistent, like, pattern.
Right.
So, like, it's been, we skipped from terrible 2s to terrible 1 through 3. We knew to expect that. If they're tired, we can expect a certain type of chaos. The youngest is the bossy one, but they all try to manipulate, somehow. So, lucky for us, it's been pretty predictable. But if it was like you got Satan spawn and the angel, I wouldn't know how to do it.
That's a tough road right there.
Yeah.
Because when, I mean, it's like I'm sure you're gonna love your child, but then you also know that the child's being an asshole, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you balance that?
You can't just, the days of going outside getting a switch off the tree so I could beat your ass, that shit don't fly, and it probably just makes the situation worse.
Oh yeah, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
But the genetic testing that you talked about earlier, that's one thing that I'm like, if I had to, if there was anything making me think not to go for the fourth kid, it's that shit was so stressful.
But what did it checks if there's gonna be some,
like, the whole process, and I feel
remedies or something?
Yeah. Yep. And I feel like, and I don't know, cause since you had the most recent experience, maybe this was a little different, but, like, when I did it for both,
we didn't have to do it
because your lady's younger. So
got it. Okay, so
my wife and I are close in age. So
for me, we had to do it for both of the kids that I was at the birth of, and in both cases, things were fine. But the way the doctors communicated to you about the results and, like, the likelihood of shit, it was almost like there was gonna be something fucked up
because they're covering their ass.
Yeah, yo, it was crazy.
And even the process of it, of just like, you know, you could damage the baby doing the testing because they stick a needle in there, and so
Lord.
yeah, so I mean, you know, it's a stressful situation from start to finish.
Fuck, I forgot all about that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's got to be a better way.
I don't know.
Too bad the stork shit wasn't real. Bird swoops in, gives you your kid, you're good to go.
So wait, so I wanted to kind of cut back to before we started recording. So I'm at my kid's class before we started recording today.
Taekwondo.
Yeah, and then I'm like overhearing one of the kids talk to their mom, and like the kid's like kind of aggressive and has like an attitude, and I'm like, yo, and the mom is trying to like, you know, have a conversation with her, but also give her kind of like the signal like you're starting to wild out, you better chill, but very calm and collected, right? So I'm like looking at like, yo, I'm trying to learn something from that, because I would jump to 100 and like grip my teeth and like speak with my mouth clenched, like, you know how our parents probably did, and then I hear the little girl's voice escalate more, and then she starts like, I forget what the words she used, but it was basically like it's not fuck you, but it was like, you know, pretty aggressive, like insulting, right? But still not at the point where you want to smack the kid, but elevated enough where there's something wrong. So the mom is like, you know, avoiding her or whatever. And then I'm thinking to myself, I was like, yo, this would have been like the third time the kid would have been smacked if it was me, because yo, we don't play that shit. And then finally they go into the dojo or whatever and start training, and they finish, and she's still like barking at her mom, and I bounce, and I'm like, I'm looking at my son on the way home like, I wish you would, motherfucker, one day, because yo, the disrespect is crazy. And I don't know if you guys run into that, but I don't know how I would act in public when if my kid ever dared to do something like that. Because we've never had that experience. Like, our kids come out of the house knowing it should never even get that close. But
Together?
Yeah. No, I haven't run into that, luckily. And
I don't think I'd have the patience for it. I could barely handle my daughter crying in public. Like I'm like looking at her like, really, dog? You about to pull this crying shit out?
Wait, are you the type that just stays there in public and lets it happen, or do you try to retrieve like to a place where you're by yourself with the kid to have them cry?
Well, it depends on the options. Like, if you're in the supermarket and you got the cart full of stuff, and you know, and you got to make a move, and it's usually me and my girl for sure. So I'm like letting her like one of us. I mean, usually it's her. Got to take her. She's got to get changed or something. But you know, when my daughter does, you know, the angry cry, like the
dinosaur.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm looking at her like, it's not that serious. Really, just chill out, relax, buddy. You know, and we no need for a show.
Does that work with her? Like, does it calm her down? Or does she get more angry?
Oh no. There's nothing that's gonna stop her when she gets to that. The point is to try to do things or figure out how to not let her get to that point. So it's feeding her at a certain time before you go somewhere. It's letting her sleep before she goes somewhere, or having her fall asleep when you get there. You know, it's those things. So it's something, usually it's because we screwed up the schedule somehow. But my thing is like, you know, we can't live by her schedule. We gotta live by our schedule. And so you're trying to live your life, but then that baby will let you know, like, nah, motherfucker, this is my schedule.
How about you, Kay? Were you guys the retreating family, or you just kind of let things happen?
You know what? He didn't scream and cry that much at least in public.
Who is this kid?
He never cried like he never had to go to the bathroom or pee. The diaper need to be changed.
No, he was not really
the son of what's his name from the planet that.
See, here's
the times that he would get upset. Like we would try to put him in a going to sleep, and we try to put him in a swaddle. That and tie him up, then he would get pissed off and then he starts screaming and want to get out of it. But he was pretty cool out and about. Like a lot of times, even now, like we'll be out, at a restaurant or something, and we look over and there's a kid screaming and crying, and even my son's like, "Boy, it's a good thing I didn't do that," because he was never really a problem like that. But I think that on the disrespect tip, and luckily, like we haven't run into that. But I think my impulse would be to, like, if he didn't shape up with a couple words quick, is to just scoop him up and take him out of the situation and then handle it privately, whatever that's going to be. But I think it's probably tough in a public situation to, like, I think whatever the mom was saying to the kid probably stoked the kid to get even, angrier, and then it's probably just a bad situation. It's like one of those things that becomes hard to diffuse if, and it's hard to stay like we're the parents, right? We're supposed to stay level-headed, at least in theory.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we don't, and so that ends up, even in the situations when, that I was talking about with my son, a couple weeks ago, it's like trying to stay level-headed or, remember, like, come on, this is a 6-year-old or this is a 5-year-old. Like, they don't know. They really don't know what they're doing right now. They're reacting to, they're feeling a certain way. So, they're trying to figure it out. And then it's our job to try to, help them figure it out and guide the right response. But because we're all human, like, we get caught up in the emotion of it as well. And, we get pissed off and that kind of thing. So it's, it can be hard to keep ourselves in check so that we can, show them what's, I guess, the proper way to react to things.
I'm trying to master, like, I'm hoping that I can master the look that shuts it down,
Oh, yeah.
Or the one word. Like, I've already started using like just like the, hey, like, Emmy, and it's worked a couple times just because it's like, she's like, here's my voice all stern. She like stops, like in her tracks. But, she's a baby right now. So as a baby, like, I'm not trying to discipline her or stop her. Like, if she's crying, it's for a reason. Mm-hmm. It's just uncomfortable when she has like the panic attack cry, because one thing that my daughter hates is being in a wet diaper. Like, that drives her insane. And if she's tired and in a wet diaper, it's like the world is over. And if we, very, very seldomly has she gone ape shit like that. But like today, she did it in Whole Foods. She didn't go ape shit. We caught her before ape shit level, but she did go to a certain level where she was just crying, and then it's like me and my girl, we like, we're new parents, so we're like, and it's 2 carts, so I'm like, and I'm like, take the thing, and she's like, no, I'm just gonna take her out, and I'm like, but then I gotta take 2. Oh man, I go to register with 2 things and putting things down, and I drop like a mayonnaise jar on the ground. Like,
oh man,
they're like looking at me like, fucking asshole, and all of that is a chain reaction from like the baby crying and having to like get her out of the situation and change her diaper.
Start getting crazy. Hot, sweating and shit. You're like, fuck.
No, you know what? I've gotten to a point where I'm used to it, but it's still like, it's, I'm trying not to inconvenience, I guess, other people.
Right.
Like, I'm not embarrassed by my baby crying or having to deal with my baby, because it's a baby and that's life. But I also never like the people that stop in the middle of the aisle or just don't care that their baby's going crazy and causing a chaos, or, like, I just don't want to be that guy. So I'm just like, let's just get her to the bathroom. I'll take the carts, I'll start to go down. By the time we've kind of mastered that, by the time you're done, you're coming back. But today, what happened? We forgot the stroller, so we put the car seat carrier thing in one of the carts.
Right.
So that took a whole cart. So then my girl had another cart. So then when she went off, I had 2 carts, that had shit in it with the stroller thing, with the car seat thing. So I'm like trying to move that, and then when I was trying to put stuff, then the jar fell through the little. Where the kids sit in that little...
yeah.
One of those holes. Clang! And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, hey, look, gotta fix it, right? And then the girl just looked at me like, you fucking asshole.
we have the count. The count seems to be working right now. So the 1, 2. Usually he shapes up by 2. So now our big question is, because basically we give him a 3 count, right?
Right.
And then, but at some point he's gonna
Test
let it go past 3, and then we're like, fuck, what do we got? What do we do after 3?
Now you got to figure that out. I was gonna ask you, like, how did you condition him to know that not to get to 3?
Damn, I don't know. I think it was maybe threatening with a consequence, like
something away.
Yeah, like the thought of a consequence starts breaking him down. Like he doesn't want to deal with a consequence,
Right.
even if it's minimal. But just the idea of a consequence starts, getting him shook, and he's like, "Oh, I don't want a consequence," So
I'm gonna introduce DEF CONs, and then I'm gonna show her when she's old enough those old Cold War commercials or little things that they were showing kids in case a missile attack.
Right,
and I'll be like, "See this? If we get to DEF CON 4, that's gonna happen."
So speaking of that, I mean, it's not really related, but at our school now, I guess next week. Well, first they're having an earthquake drill this week, so that's gonna be new for him. But then they're having a random shooter drill.
Oh my god!
It's
I mean, that's good though.
Oh, damn.
So no, I mean, it's good. You have to have it at this point.
Unfortunately.
But so the way it works is that, and from what my wife was telling me about it, I guess she read about it, or they told her about it. Is that I guess the drill is someone from the faculty lets off some kind of siren or some, like throws it out in the middle of the field, right, when the kids are out, and so it's like some high pitched noise, and that basically the drill is for all the kids to run to any classroom, run to the classroom, shut the door, and then and lock it, and then don't let anyone in. Back, in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
But then they said, it was at a parent meeting that my wife was at, and I guess they did this drill last year, and apparently 2 kids didn't make it into a classroom.
So they were
they were outside. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure they were flipping out, and I think it just scared all the kids anyway, just because
sure.
You know what I mean? It's like, how do you explain to them, like, this is what the drill is for, and that, and I think one of the parents was asking, like, well, how come what if there's kids left out there and you're not going to open the door? And the principal's like, no, we're not opening the door. No doors are open. No doors are being opened because it could be the shooter has a kid, and is trying to get in, and that's going to hurt more kids. So that's some crazy. That's some. But
who is in charge of marketing? Because if you call it a random shooter drill, bro, what? I'm not happy about that. Let's call it something else.
It might be another name. It's something along those lines of basically, like, so a shooter comes into a school and starts opening fire. So, like, what's the drill on that for the kids?
I mean, it's fucked up, but if you're thinking about it, like, that's probably the right move. Like, if you got left out, the consequences exponentially increase if you try to open the door.
Put guns in those kids' hands. No, I'm playing.
I was about to edit the first thing ever on this podcast.
So I'm just wondering how. Yeah, I'm wondering how that's all going to go down, and how they're going to. Or how, I mean, what they want, the school wants the parents to explain to the kids what's going to happen. But, like, the parents all have to get on the same page about how to explain this to the kids.
Because it'll be different information.
Yeah, and then I'm sure the kids, are going to be shook. I mean, you got kindergartners and first graders.
Yeah.
And up to what age is in that school? Or what grade?
I think it goes up to 5th grade, 5th or 6th grade.
Because what I would see the backfiring of those drills is that if one of the kids was the shooter, he'd know how to, like,
right,
to avoid,
Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy that we're even having to, have these drills now.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah.
No, you don't have any of those at your schools, man?
I mean, they don't call them that. They call them, like, lockdown drills.
Well, maybe it's the same. Maybe it is the same. I could be just making up a name here.
I don't know if they go the extra mile and like make it as though somebody infiltrated the school and is trying to. I don't think they go that far, but they do have like just a lockdown type of drill.
And
that seems. Is it
pretty
for that
standard.
reason?
Yeah, that's the main reason that they talk about. Yep.
Okay, but they don't do like a certain sound, like an alarm goes, that kind of thing, or is it?
Not that I'm aware of. They probably do, but I haven't gotten those details. I just know.
And they do it with the students?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Because I remember being in elementary school and they locked down our school because there was a bank robbery and the robbers, you know, who were armed were in the school like area, like around the school, like actually on the grounds, just not in the school. Like they were hiding around the school and they locked down the school. They locked it down, but the teachers just knew what to do, and the students, we didn't know what the fuck was going on. We just knew that something was going on.
See, that's when you get locked out of your classroom and then you become a Vic. Because they don't tell you what to do. The teachers know, but then if they're like,
they
little Timmy scramble.
No, they didn't. What it is because the way our school was, it had doors to the outside, almost around every classroom area. So they locked that down and didn't let anybody in or out of the school. But you could be with. I mean, technically you could walk around the school if you know.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, but it sucks, bro. We're definitely living in some weird times, but it's not too much different if you think about it, because there's been gun violence, just not at the level where we're seeing like kids go in and just machine gunning people, but it's been going on, you know, drive-bys or shootings, gang shootings in the hood. It's just now that when it's happening to kids in the suburb, that it's, you know, everybody's freaking the fuck out.
I'm definitely more receptive, like when I'm going to pick them up at school or take them in the morning, of just like how easy it is to kind of walk in and out of a school.
Yeah, that wasn't something you thought about.
Excuse me.
I feel so. I grew up going to Catholic school. I feel like at my Catholic school, elementary Catholic school, I felt like security was tight, and it wasn't like they had security officers or security equipment there. It was like, yeah, there was a janitor, and that dude was kind of brolic. And he somehow, some way, was always in the right spot when people were coming in and out of the building. I don't know if that was intentional, but you're not messing with that dude. And that worked. And they had gates and all sorts of shit, so it was like before the time. But
I was driving by an elementary school and I was wondering that too. Like, how does that work nowadays? Like, do they know who the parents are and release the kid to the parents? Or because I remember in my days, and even picking up my goddaughters, the kids just come out of school.
At least in my situation, it's pretty. It's actually it's a little lax. I mean, there is like we go up to the door to the classroom and then they open up and then basically they let the kids. You know, once the teacher assistant or the teacher sees the parent, then they let the kid out to go to the parent or whoever's, you know, picking them up. But there's no like sign in, sign out, and also just kind of getting into the school. You just walk up and hit the buzzer, and then they see, you know, people out in the front coming in, but it's not like they know who everyone is.
Yeah, and it's chaotic with all the kids and all the.
It's
parents.
chaotic, and my son's school is not in the best of neighborhoods. But it's so yeah, it's like a little like, all right, how are they you know, deciding
who to let in?
Seems like they're letting it, you know, they hit the buzzer for everyone, because at some point they're probably in the office like, damn, all right, enough with the buzzer, like just
right,
keep
let the herd in.
Yeah, basically.
So having had kids in school in 3 different cities in the States here, the thing I like the most about here, I think the education where we are currently is better than
being in New York, correct?
Yeah, in this town that I will not name, but
why you think that our listeners are going to track you down?
I don't know.
You never know.
Jesus Christ, the town? I live in Kendall, guys. I gives a fuck, you know.
But the way that the district communicates is second to none that I've experienced. So like, if some shit goes, like there have been, I mean, every year so far that we've been here, you hear of like threats at the school from some students, or nothing's actually happened, but you hear the threat of something happening. They are communicating with you immediately. And if for some reason they have to shut the school down for the day, buses get, set up, or they communicate where they, when you can come get your kid or whatever the case is, like at the drop of a hat. They got a really thorough like phone system that they set up where anything goes down, you get notified, the next of kin is getting notified, like all sorts of really good ways of communicating. And I can't say that was the case in the in the Bay Area or in Miami when I was there with these kids. So kudos to the unnamed town in New York.
Yeah, because this guy, he's freaking Kanye West Kardashian over there.
Yeah, we're in LA school district. I mean, they've got a pretty good system.
Broad.
Yeah.
That's why he said it. That's why he did.
No, because there's basically there's Santa Monica Unified. That's the school district, but we're outside. We're in LA Unified because he goes to school in Venice. So they've got a pretty. I mean, it's a huge school. I mean, the LA Unified is it's pretty massive, but they seem to have a good at least reach out, like collecting people's information, and like when there's things that everyone has to get notified about for the school district. That's not necessarily like the minutia of the school itself, because they have their own ways of contacting parents there. But then the school district itself, they seem to be pretty good about contacting. But I mean, I don't know, the public school, that's a whole nother conversation. Pros and cons.
Oh, so your kid is in the public school?
Yeah.
And your kids are not?
Mine are, yeah. Mine are. The amount of taxes I pay, shit. They using that shit.
But you guys both, I'm assuming, looked for the best public school option, or you just went to whatever was assigned to your area?
So the reason I moved to the area I live in Rockland County, it was due primarily to the school districts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we looked around. I mean, we went out of our school district so that we could find a better school for him. And also, we were being pretty particular about what we wanted, because we wanted a dual immersion program. So
what's that?
Basically, his day is split in half between Spanish and English. So he's so he's learning a second language. He's going to two languages.
That's dope. My kid gets 1 day a week, both of them now. 1 day a week of Spanish.
The whole day?
No, one class.
One class. That too, yeah.
One time a week. But I was surprised because my son's in kindergarten. They start him that early.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, that was pretty dope. But dual immersion, that's where it's at. Yeah,
and I mean he took to it because he's speaking
fluent.
He grew. Yeah, as much as he knows vocabulary wise, I mean, he can understand everything just because we've spoken to him and he's been around it since he's been born. But as far as him like stepping out and trying to communicate, talk to people, and like he's really into it, and so like just how fast he's picking it up and being able to start talking better is kind of amazing. It's like, damn, all right.
You reminded me of something that I actually want to ask. How did you notice? So you're saying you spoke English and Spanish when they were and this is to both of you guys, when the kids were babies and you just talked to them. I'm assuming maybe more Manny, but I'm sure your wife Kay, and maybe even you too, would speak like some words in Spanish, some words in English, just to be cute with the baby. Do you think does that create? I've always wondered, like, is that gonna make the kid like confused when they start trying to pick up language?
Nah, actually, what's happened now is my son starts checking me. He's like, yeah. It's like, Dad, that's not the right way to say it. So yeah, it hasn't really, in my case, it hasn't confused him.
Go ahead, man. It's more like an expansion of the mind, I feel like, versus a limitation or a confusion, because the more you how they say, like, the younger you are, the more you can pick up or what have you.
Yeah.
I found that to be true specifically when it comes to language. Now, our struggle is, we operate in an environment that is entirely English speaking. So our challenge, and we fail at this all the time, is being able to speak enough at home in Spanish so that they can, pick it up and start to be more comfortable speaking it. So I push that responsibility onto my mom since we're near her. I'm like, yo, we grew up speaking Spanish because of you.
Mm-hmm.
Your English wasn't very good, when we were younger. Actually, which is I'm finding out now was all bullshit. She spoke relatively good English throughout our lives, but she chose to use it. She chooses to use it now with her grandchildren to communicate with them instead of impose the Spanish where we need it most.
Right.
So, thanks, Ma.
So okay. So then, let me ask you this: so, what language? If you were speaking, mixed language to them, what language emerged the strongest for when they started to speak? I'm just saying, like
English.
So I imagine if I'm saying, every day saying, ven aquí, and then the next day, come here, ven aquí, come here, ven aquí, they're gonna be like, ven aquí, come here, ven aquí, come here.
Nah, you know what they'll do?
I think whatever language that you're speaking the most is probably the one that they're going to default to.
Okay.
Yeah, but they'll so like my oldest, because she hears us. Usually, it's like with some sort of reaction, right? Where the Spanish will kick in. Not always just like curse words, but like, something happens, you'll be like, "Qué bueno," or whatever. Yeah. It's easy. It's been easy for her and for my son, who's 5, to know that "Qué bueno" means how good or how awesome, right? Like without us having to train them, like they just know contextually. They figured it out, right? And they tend to do that.
It's another language.
Yes, and they knew that early.
Okay, like I don't want her saying "venga here."
No, but she
don't. I'm worried that's gonna happen.
She's only gonna say that if you say that.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, then she's gonna be saying all kinds of crazy shit.
Basically.
Because I say all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah, my wife sometimes she hears some of the stuff that comes out of my son's mouth. She's like, "What are you teaching?" Like, what?
Yeah,
like I don't know if I've told you guys, but I want my daughter to call me Papa.
No,
because I just think it's funny. Can you imagine people who come, are in the house and then she goes, Papa.
she'll say it if you teach it to her.
No, I never saw that. Go, Papa.
Oh, I hope that happens. I want to see that. Okay, what does your son call you?
Dad.
Just Dad, typically.
Yeah.
Do you ever try to have him call you the equivalent in Spanish?
Nah,
you just let him choose.
Yeah.
My son will play himself sometimes. It's like freestyle. They call me some random like dad related things in Spanish, and then he'll look at me because I'll look at him like, oh, like shocked, and he'll look at me like, nah, I just messing with you, man. I'm just calling you Dad.
Yeah. There's another thing I'm going through, so I'm curious. What was the first words that your kids uttered?
My son was mom.
Mom, like that, straight up?
I think it
or
was
mama.
Yeah. I don't remember if it was mama or mom, but it was definitely...
It was definitely not you.
Yeah, for sure.
And you, Manny?
I came second.
So what was the average?
My son was Dad, and my youngest daughter was Mom.
Did you... So, go ahead.
No, I don't know what my oldest spoke first.
Today, we've been hearing her as she... Like, now more, she's starting to cry out for us, more for the mom.
Mm-hmm.
Because of feeding or just comfort. And she's, like, vocalizing a lot. So, me and my girl thought of this today. She's like, maybe the word mom or mama came out because we thought that that's what they were saying. Because she sounds like she's saying mama, but we think it's too early for her to know even that that's what she's saying. She's like, mama. Like, so it's like, oh, we're like, she said mama, but I don't think she's saying mama. So my girl's like, maybe the adults are like, they came up with that word because that's what they heard the baby saying.
In my experience, It was crystal clear when they said whichever one it was. It wasn't like you're wondering whether or not it was what you thought you heard. So
the kids went, Mom, like out of nowhere.
yeah, pretty damn
Like
much.
they didn't speak any. Mom.
I mean, they were formulating sounds similar to how you just described, but then all of a sudden it was like crystal clear, and that's when we were like, all right, definitely it was Mom or it was Dad.
Perfect old English after that.
There you go.
Hey, sir. Cheerio.
I wish I could remember how that transition occurred.
Papa.
You know what, yo?
That's the porridge.
You know what's crazy when you think about like their development. In my son's case, this was like, I even think I have a picture somewhere. The first time he tasted a burger, so he was, he'd be eating whatever compota or baby food, and then flipped to giving him a, oh my god, how did I forget the name? The burgers out in California, the popular ones.
The In-N-Out.
In-N-Out, right. So we give him an In-N-Out burger. And his reaction, it was like a movie. He went like, and I'm sure I have a picture. I'll try to find it. But for those that can't see me, I made a stunned reaction. And it was, and then he smiles like, yeah, like I want more. So like that, when you said like, perfect old English after they say one word, like that just drew me to that moment, because the reaction, there was a clear division in how he interpreted food from that distinct moment in time.
Right.
And then you start to see a pattern. Like when it was good, you'd see a livelier reaction, versus the baby food, it was all neutral. It was kind of like, oh yeah, I'm just eating.
Could you imagine if, like, in this social media age, some parents or some young parents that are aspiring to be like social media, celebrities, start to get their young kids to call them by their handle?
Oh god!
Like imagine I tell my baby, I'm at who's crazy. At who's crazy. Yo, imagine they don't say dad, they don't say mom. They'd be like, at who's crazy.
What sucks is I'm sure that is happening right now.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
But
all we need next is to name your kid at the name. That's the next level.
I'm gonna look that up. I bet you that exists too.
Someone has to.
Someone has the name hashtag.
You serious? Or you?
No, I don't know. Probably someone has.
I thought you just confirmed it live here.
I probably shouldn't show this. I mean, this is probably even foul to show. But my boy who works at the DMV, he loves making fun of Cuban names, new Cubans that come, and he sent me a list that's Cuban names and the equivalent counterpart of where, like, I'm assuming what it was inspired by. So it's like Yeneski means Jenny's key. US Navy, U.S. Navy.
Yeah.
Yanni set, unit set. You're say, you're set. You're this, your lady. I don't know. It's just crazy, bro. You smell, U.S. Mall.
Oh, man.
You smell it, you smell. You saw me, U.S. Army. I don't know if this is real, but I have seen a lot of those names, man. Yo, you're lucky. You're lucky. Sounds like a Russian name, but it's you're lucky. Daniel, danger, obviously. Yo, I hope this isn't real, man. Shout out to all my Cuban people. If you have those names, hey.
Yo, wait, that reminds me.
Hit us up. Hit us up on a comment if you have any of those names, and and confirm that your parents were naming you after the U.S. Army or the U.S. Navy.
Right. Tell us how your life has been with those names.
No, but these names are tame in comparison to some other crazy names he's told me.
And those are like legit, like people that walked up into the DMV.
The names are definitely legit.
Yeah.
Now, can I confirm that the the American, the English counterpart?
Right.
I don't know if that's true, but
right.
It makes sense. Stranger things have happened. Indeed.
Yeah, I think we're about that time.
Kay just ghosted on us?
Yeah, he just said, screw y'all.
Let the cats out.
Let the cats out.
Well,
All right, fellas. Well,
I think this has come to an end. Okay, you have to say it. You have to usher us out of here.
indeed.
Nah, come on.
Homie.
Oh, man, come on.
Come on.
Indeed.
That's the get the fuck out of here. Indeed. Indeed. All right,
Indeed.
peace.
Bye.
Later.
Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click the bell.